Welcome to the Itihasa channel. The last time we spoke about how Arjuna had a duel with this Gandharva Angaraparna, a duel in which he cast the Agnyastra onto Angaraparna's chariot and then burnt it down. And Angaraparna, with his Gandharva sense of humor, said that he would now have to change his name from the flaming chariot Angaraparna to the scorched chariot. And so it also showed the lively ways in which the Gandharvas lived. They never really took many things seriously, but when they did, it was always a disaster either for the Gandharvas or for the humans, the Manavas who combated them. As in the case of Chitrangada, Vichitravirya's elder brother, who was killed by a wandering Gandharva, who on a whim decided that his name was the same as the Kuru prince Chitrangada, and they should have a fight to decide who gets to keep the name. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Nagendraya Namaha, Om Amme Narayana, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Anjanaya Namaha, Om Subramanyaya Namaha, Swami Sharanamayapo, Om Kuve. So the last time we discussed the duel between Arjuna and Angaraparna, and we told how at the end of the duel, Arjuna asked Angaraparna, why is it that he attacked them? And that the river Ganga or the river Janvi was free for everyone to use. And why should there be restrictions on bathing in the waters of the Ganga after dark, after dusk? And then there was a conversation in which Angaraparna called Arjuna and the Pandavas Tapatiyas. And we left it at that. And today we go deep into the conversations that the Gandharva had with Arjuna and the Pandavas. Now the Mahabharata is a collection of various stories, beautiful stories, wondrous stories, awesome stories, stories of every type. And through the Mahabharata, various other historic moments that happened much before the period of the Mahabharata are revealed in the form of stories, origins of people, their past lives, events that happened that led to the events that happened in the Mahabharata eventually. All these are discussed in various wondrous stories. And so you have stories within stories and then within stories again. And the Mahabharata is a collection of all these beautiful stories. And hopefully over the period of the next many episodes, I will tell you all these stories one after the other. And so the Gandharva Angaraparna discussed multitudes of stories with Arjuna and the Pandavas. And in the course of these stories, you will realize another important aspect of the Mahabharata. These stories were passed on orally from generation to generation over the years. And through the time as these stories were transmitted from generation to generation, there were changes in the story with mild changes that happened. And so for a given historic moment or a given historic personality, you would have stories being told in 2 or 3 different perspectives through the Mahabharata. And there might be mild variations among the storytelling of the 2 or 3 perspectives. And so it's quite common today for us to sit and stick to one perspective and argue with somebody who had a story from a different perspective. For the language of Sanskrit itself was so nuanced that the story told by one person could have a different meaning in the way he used the flowery language of Sanskrit, as when compared to somebody else who would use the flowery language of Sanskrit in his own beautiful way and tell the story, giving rise to minor nuances and minor changes in the perception of these stories. And so today I'm going to tell you a few stories from the side of Angaraparna's perspective. As these Gandharvas were there from time immemorial and they don't really die. They stay for years and years through generations, having seen, witnessed, and observed various occurrences in Bhuloka and Bharatvarsha. And so today the stories that I'm going to tell you are Angaraparna's perspective of these stories. which might differ from what you would have heard from other perspectives. And some beautiful stories he told Arjuna and the Pandavas. And so when once Arjuna had defeated Angaraparna told Arjuna that he will give Arjuna the gift of Chakshushi, the ability to see in different realms, an ability that only the Gandharvas possess, and the way they can bring out various illusions too. And he taught Arjuna that. He also promised to give the Pandavas horses foaled in the wondrous lands of the Gandharvas, steeds that do not tire, steeds that are absolutely marvelous in their color and their ability to run with their hooves just above the ground. And then Arjuna said that I will not take these gifts unless I give you one in return. And for that, Angaraparna asked him to teach him the Agnyastra, which Arjuna did. And hence the barter system took place where Arjuna took those gifts in return for the Agnyastra. And then Arjuna came up to Angaraparna and asked him, why is it that we honorable Kshatriyas who have done no wrong, who are tormentors of our enemies and tormentors of people who live in the path of our dharma, and we who follow the path of dharma, why is it that we should stay away from the wonderful waters of the Ganga? Why is it that we should stay away from the wonderful waters of the daughter of Himavat after dusk? Why is it that we cannot enjoy the waters? And why is it that Yakshas and Gandharvas and various other Asuric beings should challenge us to a duel if we were to come in these waters? Tell us why, O great Gandharva. And the Gandharva started telling him why he had battled with Arjuna in the first place. He told Arjuna that you all seemed like well-grown men who have passed their tutelage at various ashramas. And at this point of time, when you walk through these strange jungles and forests, you should either be accompanied by a guru or a brahmana who would be your teacher and who would be your guide and your guardian, or you should be married and have a stable family with you. And you walk here in these dense jungles with neither. You neither have a woman who accompanies you who would be your wedded wife, nor do you have a brahmana who accompanies you and who would take you through these paths with the knowledge that is attended in these particular places, these wild places of the jungle. And since you have neither, we were right in assuming you could be bands of bandits and you could be evil people with evil intentions. And I was here with my wives in this beautiful enchanted forest. And it inflamed me to no end that somebody would interrupt when I would be there with my wives in this enchanted forest. And that is why I called on you and challenged you for a duel. And now that I know that you are the 5 Pandavas, I had heard that you all had perished in the house of wax. And it brings me great pleasure to know that you all are alive. For I have heard about you, and we, Gandharvas and Yakshas, we roam around, we range around this Bhuloka, this earth girdled by its beautiful seas. And if you notice at this point when the Gandharva says this earth girdled by its beautiful seas, they are well aware that the earth consists of pockets of land surrounded by water, large quantities of water, the seas and the oceans. So they had a very good idea of geography at that point of time, 5 to 7,000 years ago. And he said, we range through this earth girdled by its many seas and oceans. And we have met wondrous people along the years. We know of your father Pandu, and we also know of your divine parents, Dharmaraja himself. We know of the divine Indra, Sakra. We're aware of Vayu. We've met Vayu. We know him, and we know the Ashwini twins. We know all of them. We've met all of them. We're also familiar with Bharadwaja and his son Drona, who was your guru in turn. And having known all these people, we know the great race of Kuru race that you come from. The race that has been flawless in its command over the great country of Bharat. Bharatvarsha. And we know how you have ruled over Bharatvarsha righteously. Your race has ruled over Bharatvarsha righteously. We have met your ancestors over the years and we've known them. And we know you Pandavas are the true descendants of this great race, and you Pandavas are the ones who will take this race forward. And oh Tapatya, we know that y'all Tapatyas are the ones who are the true people who will inherit this great race and this great kingdom of Bharatvarsha, the great Kuru Empire. And then he told Arjuna, it is right for you to have a guru at this stage in your life. Know one thing, if you had crossed our path without a guru at this time of dusk, a time when the power of the Gandharvas reigned supreme, a time at which the power of the Yakshas, the power of the Asuras reigned supreme, if you had crossed our path and you were married, you would definitely have perished at our hands. It is because you were a brahmachari and you were able to concentrate all your forces by being a brahmachari. Your force was well within your control. Your force was well within your power, waiting to do your bidding. That's the only reason why you were able to conquer. However, even if you were married, if you were in the presence of a worthy Brahmana, then again beating you would have been difficult. So remember, oh Tapatyas, it is necessary at this stage that you take on a worthy Brahmana who will guide you through your life, who will guide you through to ensuring that you will maintain the kingdom that you will earn eventually. Oh Tapatyas, know well that the Brahmana who you should have should be self-restrained and pious, who should be honest, who should know all the Vedas and its 6 sanghas, and who should be well versed in their knowledge. For such a Brahmana would do yajnas for you, would do mahayajnas for you, and enhance the power of your consciousness. To be able to take on all your enemies, to make you be able to take on all your foes. Such a Brahmana should be eloquent, should be well versed with the laws of dharma, should be untainted, should be pious, should not be corruptible. And such a Brahmana will help you in managing the affairs of the court, in bringing justice in your court, and will make your name famous. You should have a Brahmana with you who will be ever pious and courteous to people. He will know the ways of the land, he will know the ways of the country, he will know the ways of Bharatvarsha. For he will ensure that you will not dwell into places that are forbidden for you and protect you from all these occurrences. Search for a Brahmana who will take care of your kingdom in your absence. For he shall be someone who you can trust the kingdom to. For you know that such a Brahmana will not usurp the kingdom behind your back. Search for a Brahmana who will walk with you at all times and ensure that your success will be supreme. Search for a Brahmana who will ensure that the wealth you acquire stays with you and will protect you from spending the wealth in a manner that will be unbecoming of a Kshatriya. For a Kshatriya will only be as successful and his kingdom will only be as safe as the Brahmana who he is with. And remember, it is not only the status of your birth, it is not only the deeds as a Kshatriya that brings you fame and name and glory. It's also the knowledge that the Brahmana who stays with you imparts on you. It's the knowledge and gift that the gift of knowledge that the Brahmana gives to you that will eventually ensure your unending eternal glory. The eternal glory that you will have after you left Bhuloka, and ensure that your kingdom will remain eternally great. And then Yudhishthira looked up at the Gandharva and said, what you say is very deep, O Gandharva. And today we know the importance of having a Brahmana for us to be with us in these difficult times. And then Arjuna spoke. But tell us, O Gandharva, you've gone on referring to us as Tapatyas. Your Kaunteyas for we are children of Kunti. Your Pandavas for we are children of our father Pandu. And then why is it that you refer to us as Tapati? So this was a common way of referring to children that you have. For example, Drupada, his daughter Krishna, the dark one, was also called Draupadi. So the extra A is added in the name to denote as an offspring. Vasudeva, his son was Vasudeva, Krishna. Similarly, many great kings would name their children after them by modifying their name. Of course, Kunti Bhoja named his daughter Prita Kunti because he loved her so much and he felt that she should have the same name as him. For she would have otherwise been Kaunti, and she landed up being Kunti, and the Pandavas started being called Kaunteya instead. And which is also why Duryodhana called the brothers the Kauravas as part of the Kuru Empire. And this is how in Bharat Varsha of the time, great kings would take the name of their father before them, or their mother before them in some cases, or their grandfather before them by modifying the grandfather's name. And so Arjuna asked the Gandharva, why do you call us Tapatyas? Who is Tapati who you talk about? And then Angaraparna started to tell him the wonderful story of Tapati. So he started to tell the story of why he called the Pandavas Tapatyas. He spoke about the great god in the sky who bathes the world in his bright light, Surya. Through the course of the story that Angaraparna recounts to Arjuna and the Pandavas, he talks about Surya Deva, the Lord Surya up above. And he refers to Surya in a multitude of names in this one story. He calls him Savitur. Savitur, as we know, is the name referred to Surya in the Gayatri Mantra. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bharga Devasya. That Savitur, Devasya Savitur, with this extreme brilliance. He also refers to him as Arka. Arka, which also is the other name for the sun. He calls him Vivaswat. Vivaswat, Viva means alive and Swat means shining. That shining star which gives life to people on earth. Vivaswat. Instantly, the word Viva, which means alive, was also taken up by various other European languages which came much later to Sanskrit. And so we have the word Viva. Viva in Spanish, Viva in French, which like Viva la Revolución. Long live the revolution. So the word Viva was taken from Viva, which meant alive. Vivaswat, the sun. That person who shines bright in the sky and gives life to people in Bhuloka. He was also called Vibha Vasu. Vibha as in light and Vasu as in wealth. He's also called Aditya. Aditya because he is the son of Aditi. Hence Aditya. Note the change in the name for the son of Aditi. So the Adityas were actually the Devas or the children of Aditi, the wife of Kashyapa, the elder wife of Kashyapa, while the Daityas were Asuras who were sons of Diti, the younger wife of Kashyapa. The elder sons of Aditi were Varuna, Surya, Mitra, and the last son was Vamana, who was an avatar or an amsh of Vishnu born to Aditi to disrupt the Yajna of Mahabali, the son of Virochana. And so in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna compares himself to the various great people, the various great beings, the various great structures of Bhuloka of the universe, and tells Arjuna how he is represented He's represented in each one of them. His being, his soul, his amshas represented each one of them. And so in the Gita, when Krishna talks about who he represents in the 10th chapter, he says, Aditya Nam Aham Vishnuhu, telling that he is the Vishnu who took birth as Vamana, the last son of Aditi, who was sent to disrupt the Yagya of Mahabali, the son of Virochana, and the grandson of Prahlada. There are many Daityas who were the children of Diti, the second wife, the younger wife of Kashyapa. And among these Daityas, a lot of them were the Asuras, the Asura Mahishasur, Poundra, the Asura Hiranaksha, the Asura Hiranyakashipu. Incidentally, the son of Hiranyakashipu was Prahlada, who is also referenced in this 10th chapter of the Gita, where Krishna says, Prahladasmi Daityanam. Among the Daityas, I am Prahlada, the son of Virochana, the father of Virochana. And so, among the Adityas was Surya himself. The other names that Angaraparna uses to describe Surya, one of them is Tapana, someone who gives heat. And it is from this word Tapana that this daughter of Surya, Tapati, has come. And we will tell you that story. So Angaraparna says, the Deva above who bathes this whole earth in his light and his heat, Surya himself, once had a daughter called Tapati. She was the younger sister of Savitri. Savitri, the great Sannyasin Savitri, who was the elder daughter of Surya. Here you note Savitri is the daughter of Savitur. And this younger daughter, Tapati, was extremely beautiful. She was the most gorgeous woman of that time. So beautiful was she that she was radiant like her father Surya himself. She was exquisite in the clothes that she wore. She was elegant in the way she carried herself. She was immaculate in her deportment. She was chaste in character and her ornaments were beautiful. And where she roamed, she cast a spell on the people who laid eyes on her. And one day, as she reached puberty, Surya started to wonder who she should marry. For this daughter of his was an exquisite woman, and only the greatest man to have ever lived, would be equal for his daughter's hand in marriage. And this thought tormented Surya day and night for who would be worthy enough to marry his daughter. And casting his glance all over Bhuloka, he deciphered that there was only one man who would be worthy of his wonderful daughter Tapati, and that was the king Samvarana, the son of the king Riksha. And he knew this great king Samvarana was a king who was his bhakta, who would do Argya and Vanamali worship for him, would keep vratas for him, and would do great vratas in the name of the great Lord Surya. This great king Samvarana had the ojas of dharma in him. With the ojas of dharma, he would sear his enemies on Bhuloka, while to his friends and to his colleagues he would be like the soothing digit of the moon at night, which would bring peace and calm to the people. This Samvarna was a man who could devastate his enemies in battle, and he was unblemished in beauty. And Surya knew that this was the man who would be right for his daughter Tapati. And incidentally, one day in Bhuloka, Samvarna was out on a hunt all alone on his steed. A bright, hard pedigree of a steed. And he ran the steed to the limits of the mountains, and finally, in exhaustion, out of hunger and thirst, his steed collapsed under him and died. Samvarna was heartbroken, but he did the respects, paid the respects to his steed and started to walk on foot. And as he walked through the mountains, suddenly there was a vision in front of him. The vision of the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. And when his eyes lay on her, he thought that this woman could be nobody but Goddess Lakshmi herself. She was as beautiful as Goddess Lakshmi, and yet as she stood there, she glowed like the embodiment of the rays of Surya himself. And as he gazed transfixed at her, and she gazed back transfixed at him, the thoughts that came into his mind were something which the Mahabharata describes so eloquently. The Mahabharata says that as he looked upon her, he felt contempt for every woman that he has seen in his life so far. And as he looked at her, he realized that there was no woman who could be as beautiful as this lady. Nothing that he had ever laid eyes on from the time of his birth could match what he saw in front of her. And looking at her, he realized that there could only be a churning of the three worlds of the Manavas, the Asuras, and the Devas that could bring out such a wonderful beauty. As he gazed at her, he realized that she stood there like a flame burning a searing hole through his heart. And yet she was as cool and soothing as the digit of the moon in a pleasant night. And as she stood there like a statue, like a golden flaming statue, the vines and the trees and all the plants nearby glowed in her golden glow. And he looked at her. Words could hardly come out of his mouth, but he was able to mutter, "Pray tell me, O wonderful lady who stands in front of me, with black eyes as lustrous as lotuses. Who are you? Do you belong to any man? Are you wedded to any man? Are you betrothed to any man? Why do you come in this dense vana standing alone without a complement? Tell me who you are." And as he said it, the churning in his heart started to grow more and more. He looked at her and said, "When I see you, I see Karma sending his arrows at me, tearing through my heart, biting my heart like a viper would. Pray tell me who you are, O woman with the swaying hips and the deep bosom, the woman with the lustrous eyes and the woman with the black hair curling down. Tell me who you are who stands in front of me, takes my life away from me. Karma with his sugarcane bow has sent his flowery arrows into my heart and they burn a hole in my heart." And she smiled back at him, disappeared in an instant like a lightning. Samvarana let out a scream and fell down unconscious on the ground, not being able to bear her disappearance. In a short while he came to, and when he looked up, he saw this fair maiden standing above him and smiling to him. With a voice that sounded like singing birds singing songs, she melodiously spoke to him and said, "Get up, O great king. It does not look good that you fall down in a swoon for a woman in front of you. Get up and stand up, O great king. For I too am enamored by your beauty, for I too am enamored by your greatness. And I have heard great stories of you." And then Samvarna got down on his knees and looked at her and said, "O woman with the swaying hips, pray tell me who you are, for you have stolen my heart away. You bring a torment in my soul that I have never felt in my life till today. You bring a torment in my heart that I feel I can never recover from. With your lustrous eyes, you penetrate my very being and you create a hole in me, a hole that can never be filled. With your beautiful lotus eyes, I feel like I can drown in that the beauty of your eyes and never come up for air. And the words that are used in the Mahabharata are so beautiful, so marvelous, so flowery. If we were to use it today, I'm sure there is hardly a person who could resist those words which the Mahabharata has used, in which this great king Samvarna describes to Tapati her very beauty. He talks about her face, he talks about her features, he talks about her shoulders, he talks about her bosom, her hips, her legs. And at every comment that he makes, the smile that she gives him tears into his heart deeper than he could ever have imagined. And then, almost in a swoon, he tells her, "Let us get married in the Gandharva way." The Gandharva way of marriage is the most pious and the most uh, elevated way of getting married. Let us get married in the Gandharva way. For me, there shall be no other woman other than you in all my life. And there is no woman who can ever compare to what you are. And I am a lost man without, if I cannot have you. And then this beautiful Tapti, this woman of immaculate deportment, gazes lovingly at this great king Samvarna and looks at him and says, "I myself have been stricken by your handsomeness, and I myself have been stricken by your greatness. For I have heard stories of your greatness and your clan. But I am not my own mistress, I am not my own master. And I cannot come with you even though my heart desires it. For I am the daughter of the great Papana in the sky, the great Surya. And it is not without his permission that I can take a decision as to whether I can marry or not. Let me go to my father. For the great Surya will be the one who will decide who I shall marry and which great king I shall be betrothed to. So let me be very clear that my heart too has gone out to you. Kama too has hurt me with his flowery arrows and his sugarcane bow." And so, saying, in an instant, she disappeared up in the sky. Back to that bright, shining light in the sky, Surya Deva said to her father. And Samarna let out a scream and fell unconscious. He lay in a swoon for 12 days until one day his ministers with the retinue of soldiers came searching for the king who was lost in the great forest, the great mountains. For they knew he had gone on a hunt and not returned for a long time. And when the minister came to him, he ran to his king, lay his king's head on his lap, asked the soldiers to get water, sprinkled water on the face, and when Samvarna came to, started to give the water to his king. He knew his king had probably fallen from exhaustion, thirst, and hunger, for he had been away for very long. And then, when the king came to his senses, he asked his minister to send the soldiers away to a safe distance. Then he told his minister, "Ask our Kul Guru Vasishta to come. I wish to meet Vasishta." The great king Samvarna got down, cleared a place in the mountain side, lay down a few blades of kusha grass, sat on it, and told his minister, "I shall now go into dhyana to call my Kul Guru Vasishta. I need to speak to him and I need his advice. Send the soldiers home and stand a little at a distance so that I may take my vratas intensely." And so for 12 days and 12 nights, Samvarna sat in deep penance, doing dhyana for his teacher Vasishta. And it said in 12 days, his teacher came back to him and, having deciphered that his king is calling him, this Kulguru came and stood in front of the great Samvarna and asked him, "Pray tell me, Samvarna, I see pain in your eyes, I see longing in your eyes. Who is it that has taken your mind away?" And Samvarna smiled and said, "It is none other than the wonderful, beautiful Tapati the daughter of Savitr himself, the daughter of Surya himself. I have lost my heart out to her and I wish to marry her. Could you go to Surya Deva and talk to him and tell him that I wish to have his daughter for marriage? And Vasishta said, so be it. I shall go to Surya, but in the meantime, I want you to do 12 days of a purification vrata. A purification vrata for when I do come down, and if I do come down with Tapati, you will need to have that level of purity when she comes down to marry you. So begin this 12 days of vrata, which will ensure that you are pure of body and mind. And so while Samvarna sat on that mountainside on his blades of pusha grass doing the vrata to purify his body and mind, Vasishta went to the kingdom of Surya to ask for Tapati's hand in marriage for Samvarna. And Surya himself was overjoyed, for he then told Vasishta, this great king has been on my mind for a long time for my daughter. It is with great happiness that I greet you here and that you have come here asking for my daughter's hand in marriage for this great king. For there is hardly a greater king on Bhuloka than this man, a man who shines as bright as me on earth, as I shine in the sky. It is with pleasure that I will give my daughter to him, a man whose ability to maintain dharma is unparalleled with anybody else, unrivaled by anybody else on Bhuloka. Take my daughter, let them marry. I would like you to officiate this marriage, O great Brahma Rishi Vasishta. And so saying, Brahma Rishi Vasishta brought Tapati down to the mountainside where Samvarna was in deep penance, purifying his mind and body. And it is said that when he came, the mountain lit ablaze with the brightness of Tapati. And the two gazed at each other's eyes in absolute love and devotion. And the great Brahma Rishi Vasishta went through the marriage rituals for Samvarna and Tapati, and they were married. And then Samvarna looked back at Vasishta and told him that I wish to spend many years with my new wife here in these wonderful idyllic mountains. I do not wish to go back to my kingdom to take care of the daily rituals that are there running a kingdom. Oh, great Maharishi, you are my Kulguru. Go in my stead and take care of this kingdom. I know you will efficiently take care of this kingdom and you will do good for this kingdom. Please do it in my stead, for I have no intention of coming and running this kingdom now that I'm married to this most wonderful woman, Tapati. And so saying, he sent Vasishta back to his kingdom, and Vasishta ruled on that kingdom. And it is for 12 years that Samvarna and Tapati spent in that forest, being with each other, never tiring of each other, not having enough of each other. And for 12 years, the king and his wife remained on the mountainous forest. In those 12 years, it is said that Indra was angry that the great king did not descend on rule his kingdom. And for 12 years, Indra did not send a drop of rain into the kingdom. That kingdom was wrecked by famine. And though Vasishta tried his best to mitigate the disaster that was there with the famine eventually took its toll. The countryside was laid waste. People became walking skeletons. There was tragedy everywhere. There was sorrow in every home, death in every home. Until one day Vasishta realized that it will not change until Samvarna came back. And so after 12 years of this famine, Vasishta went back into the mountains. He spoke to Samvarna in detail and told Samvarna that this kingdom is lost without you. Indra has decided to ignore this kingdom because you are not taking care and because you have not come back to the kingdom. Oh, great king, for the sake of your subjects, for the sake of your people, come back and bring your wondrous omens back to the kingdom. And so that day, Tapati and Samvarna walked hand in hand, led by the great Brahma Rishi Vasishta back into his kingdom. And it is said that the great king Samvarna with his beautiful wife Tapati, the daughter of Surya Deva himself, the moment they stepped foot into the boundaries of the kingdom, Indra came in full force. He showered wonderful life-giving rain onto the kingdom in every part of the kingdom. And it is said that for the next 100 years, Samvara ruled over his kingdom, and every year the monsoon came on time. Indra did not disappoint. For Indra was waiting for Tapati to come into the kingdom to give the kingdom unlimited wealth and riches. And then the great Gandharva continued. He said this great king Samvarna and his beautiful wife Tapati had a child. That child was called Kuru. And this Kuru was eventually the progenitor of this great race, this great dynasty. And you are his descendants, O great Pandavas, O Arjuna. You are the descendants of this great Kuru, and hence, as he is the daughter of Tapati, I call you all Tapatyas, for you are the true descendants of this Kuru empire. You are the Tapatyas who will take this Kuru empire to its former glory, to the glory of the times of Samvarna Tapati and the great king Kuru. Arjuna, the Pandavas, and Kunti were listening with rapt attention to this wonderful story being told by Angaraparna, a story of their ancestors. And then curiosity got the better of them. Arjuna started to ask Angaraparna, you spoke of the Brahma Rishi Vasishta. You spoke about how he was the Kul Guru for my ancestor. But I heard he was also the Kul Guru for the Ikshvaku dynasty of the Purushottama Rama. Pray tell us the story of Vasishta. And we have also heard the story of Vishwamitra and Vasishta and their immense rivalry. Pray tell us this story. Then Angaraparna started to recount the story of Vasishta and Vishwamitra and that the great feud that the two had. So in the next episode, I shall tell you the story of Vishwamitra and Vasishta as told to Arjuna and the Pandavas by Angaraparna. Now this story might vary a little from the stories you may have heard, which are also there in the Mahabharata, recounted by certain other people, and we shall come to those stories later too. But right now we shall discuss the story of Vishwamitra and Vasishta as told to Arjuna and the Pandavas by Angaraparna. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Nagendra Namaha, Om Amme Narayana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Anjanaya Namaha, Om Kartikaya Namaha, Swami Sharanamaya, Om Pute.